12, Brant. I stand next to the horse girl in the back of the room. Chairs has been set up in 4 rows, and there was plenty available seating. That I didn't want to sit up front. I wasn't here for the movie. I was here for the men standing around the trolley bar, loudly laughing and clinging eyes into their glasses. Who are they? Asked Constance, leaning over, and I felt immediately intimidated. Oh sure, I've been around pretty girls plenty. There were a lot in my neighborhood. She was actually reminding me of this girl, Francine, everyone has said was my sweetheart when I was 8 years old. As if either of us care about the kind of stuff. We just liked pretending we were detectives solving neighborhood mysteries. But I had put her in the country of the celebrity yesterday, and now we were just sitting together like this, like a normal people. I definitely need to get over this feeling if I wasn't going to interview old types. They're from New York, doing business with Bill's dad. Are they the ones who wanted the tourist film then? She asked it. Is that what this is? I asked it. Of course. That pieces were coming together now. That's why Mr. Clark had been invented to watch. That's why we printed the strange piece of the changes in tourism post World War II this morning. Tourists, huh? What kinds of investments were needed to boost a thing like that? You know, this might be wrong of me to say, she said, leaning in even closer. I could feel her breath on my cheek. But they look awful lot like the sort of men you hear about from the back in the probation days. The sort of people my father ended up delivering things to at the very strange hours when he was a clerk around our age. I definitely think you're onto something, I replied it. Hey, I wasn't saying that, she was. She smiled. Fun! I smiled too. Of course it was really fun. It was illegal and probably pretty dangerous. We were on the bridges of something a lot darker than this cute moment sitting in the back row. Still, for the two of us outsiders, who could help but see it as exciting or fun. After all, I see it as a story. It could help me get my byline. She saw it as an interview. How did Bill see it? It was his natural life, probably quite differently, probably as dangerous as it all actually was. Perspective changes everything. Thank you all for coming. Bill's father stood in the front of a makeshift screen with a big grin of his face, his thumbs each jammed in the jacket pocket, his fingers drumming on his torso. Just the first attempt, and we wanted all your feedback. After all, Atlantic City deserves the best reputation because it's the best city in America. Constance and I clapped at that, but we were just two of the only few who did. The guest list considered mostly of New Yorkers. You didn't tell the New Yorkers that anywhere was the best city in America if it wasn't New York. Let's roll the film, shall we? Said Bill's father. Bill seeming quite unfit, but I have a feeling he was sitting inside. There was the man who liked to be liked. The man sat down with the front row next to his son, and the lights were beamed. The projector turned on, and for the moment we just staring at the bright square of light, then hear the heat spinning around behind me, and the picture started it. We began on a real shot of the boardwalk. Of course, it was definitely the picture-quated part of the city. Have they hired a plane for it? It was pretty impressive to see the city from the ocean like that. The steel pier stuck out into the bright waves that came bubbling up onto the boardwalk. I always been amazed by it as a kid. How did those wooden posts going to sea support it? The large building that worked its way right to the tip, getting progressively smaller as it did until it opened into fresh air. We could feel you were alone, lost at sea, and you stood at the tip and didn't turn around. It didn't feel like there were a whole city behind you. The camera flew over the ocean with the tiny people and the tiny open umbrellas, then out onto the north boardwalk. That ran a lead of sand, the small shops that lined and all had their ones unhurled, and the glass in their arched windows polished into sheen. Large castle-like brick hotels rose behind them, looking as impressive as ever. Clearly, everyone had been prepared for the shoot, and was showing themselves off to the great effect. Next, the film cut to the close-up walking down the walk, they in their summer finest smiling and laughing, pointing at windows. Oh look, they seem to say James Saltwater Taffy, cute hats and nice shoes. How delightful. It made me want to gag. It was weird watching all it without any voiceover yet. Just shots of different places and people. No one tried to tie them together except how welcoming it looked. They have done a decent job of that. They didn't want to be shooting in my neighborhood, that was for certain. They didn't want to be shooting in the north side either, or any of the dirty, salt-arranged buildings and the bridges of these shots. No reality was swooped into the edges of this sparkling make-believe world. Then I was looking at that diving platform. It took me by surprise, but there was Constance standing up top. waving. There I was, though I couldn't tell it was me, with tricks with the horse. Had this just been yesterday? Watching all the film made all to feel like it had never happened at all, or had been years ago. It's you on the horse, I said, leaning over to Constance. It is, she replied, sounding a little embarrassment. Here comes the dive. I looked at her with her profile staring straight ahead. She was lit by the screen, but otherwise a dark solitude. What did the girl like that think about? She was suddenly looking right at me. Do you smell smoke? I sniffed the air, and she was right. I turned my seat and saw there was a smoke coming from the back of the projector. The operator and his sister were quietly panicking, trying to fix whatever was wrong and doing a pretty terrible job at it. Turn the darn thing off, I said loudly enough that the room could hear. Head turns around. What's going on? Asked Mr. Chambers, rising in his seat. Bill was fast onto his feet as well. Sorry, sir. It's the projector. It's... Just hold on. We got this, replied the operator. Oh boy, this is going to go over well. Mr. Chambers stormed back towards us, stared at the projectionist. Looks could killed. His hold would do the trick. If only looks could projectors. He finally examined the object itself, saw the smoke, and shook his head with a scowl. This is a disaster, I heard him hiss. Fix it! I'm trying, said the projectionist. But with a panic in his voice, either he didn't know how or was too intimidated to think clearly. He turned his client and said quietly, Get the man from Gent in here. Client flew out of the room just as Bill approached it. Can I help? Asked it. Sit down, son, said his father, his tones ice cold. I think I could fix it, father, replied Bill, sounded polite and much younger in the way than I ever heard him sound. I watched closely as Bill examined the projector and opened it up. I didn't know what he was doing, but I trusted he was able to fix the thing. No sooner he stood upright, with a small smile on his face, than the fella, Scott, came walking quietly into the room. This will be fun, I thought, leaning back in my seat. I fixed it, said Bill, sounding incredibly proud of himself. It was so strange that someone so rich could care so much about such things. Scott looked over the projector and turned it on. It rolled back to life, letting the men standing in their seats, turning their heads into screens with dancing girls, felt right. These men certainly seemed to always have girls on mind. Good work, said Scott. Thank you. Remember what I said last night? Who are you? Get out of here, said Bill's father with a wave of his hand. Scott rolled his eyes at Bill, and the fellow smiled, a shared secret. I need to get going, said Constance then. Bill heard that and came over. Were you just magnificent? He asked it. It's interesting seeing myself on screen, that's for sure, he replied with a little laugh. You were quite impressive fixing that machine. Bill beamed it. He was coming a little too strong. But then again, you have that much money. It didn't matter how you come across. You really get the positive reputation. Thank you again, she said. Brant, it was nice to meet you eventually. He took her off her gloved hand and held it for a moment. It felt nice. She gently pulled away and slipped out from the row of seats and through the door. She vanished so quickly, so effortlessly. It was a neat trick. I thought then, maybe girls like that need to know how to disappear. Attention is always a good thing. I didn't understand in myself. I was tired of being invisible. I was desperate to be noticed, to be taken seriously. But everyone's different. Look at Mr. Fix here. Proud as punch had he fixed the projector. Like he saved the world. We all want different things, and that's okay, just long as I get what I want too. You ready to continue? Announced Mr. Chambers. I'm sure as heck was. Yes.